There is a plant growing in your driveway right now that contains more omega-3 fatty acids than any other leafy vegetable on Earth. It has more protein per calorie than beef. It survived the fall of Rome, the collapse of the Aztec Empire, and 10,000 years of human civilization. And this morning, someone in your neighborhood paid money to poison it. They call it a weed. They spray it with glyphosate. They rip it from sidewalk cracks and throw it in the garbage. Meanwhile, the same species sells for $12 per pound in high-end farmers markets 50 miles away. The United States Department of Agriculture lists it as a noxious weed in some states. The World Health Organization lists it as one of the most consumed vegetables on the planet. Both are telling the truth. That is the problem. This is the story of the plant that fed humanity for millennia until we forgot its name. Welcome to Traditional Harvest. Before we open this vault, if these stories matter to you, the best way to preserve this wisdom is simple. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share these vaults with those who need to remember what we forgot. The archive opens in ancient Persia, 4,000 years ago. Cuneiform tablets describe a succulent green called korfe. Physicians prescribed it for burns, headaches, and fevers. Soldiers carried it dried in leather pouches. It was not a delicacy, it was survival rations, a plant that stayed alive when everything else withered in the desert sun. This is purslane, Portulaca oleracea. The Greeks called it androchny. Hippocrates used it to treat inflammation. Pliny the Elder wrote that Romans wore it as amulets to ward off evil spirits. By the 1st century, it had spread across 3 continents, not because humans planted it, but because humans could not stop it. Purslane is a colonizer of disturbed ground. Anywhere soil is broken, anywhere civilization builds and abandons, purslane appears. It followed human settlements like a shadow. Archaeologists have found its seeds in prehistoric sites across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. It was growing in Native American gardens when Columbus landed. It was thriving in Chinese medicinal plots 2,000 years before the Silk Road existed. In the 16th century, English herbalist John Gerard wrote that purslane cooled the blood and quenched thirst. He recommended it for hot stomachs and inflamed livers. Nicholas Culpeper, the famous physician-astrologer, prescribed it for blood diseases and fevers. European monasteries cultivated it in their physic gardens alongside rosemary and lavender. It was medicine, it was food, it was survival. By the 1700s, purslane was cultivated across Europe as a kitchen staple. French gardeners grew golden varieties specifically bred for tender salads. The Dutch pickled it in vinegar for winter provisions. German farmers let it grow between cabbage rows. Thomas Jefferson planted it at Monticello. His meticulous garden records listed alongside tomatoes and lettuce as a crop worth cultivating. Martha Washington's household cookbook included recipes for purslane salads dressed in oil and vinegar. The early American colonists ate it regularly. Shaker communities cultivated it. Rural families across the eastern seaboard harvested it wild from their fields and gardens. It required no work. It required no seed. It simply appeared and fed whoever was wise enough to eat it. Then something changed. By the mid-1800s, American agricultural journals stopped mentioning purslane as food. By 1900, it appeared only in weed identification guides. By 1950, chemical companies were selling products specifically designed to kill it. The plant that fed Persian armies, Roman legions, and American founding fathers had become the enemy. What happened? The same thing that always happens. Purslane could not be controlled. It produces 240,000 seeds per plant. Each seed remains viable in soil for 40 years. Cut the stem and it reroots from fragments. Drought makes it stronger. It uses a photosynthetic pathway called C4 metabolism. the same system used by corn which allows it to thrive in heat that kills spinach and lettuce. It also switches to CAM metabolism at night, the same system cacti use to survive deserts. No other leafy vegetable does both. Purslane is a survivor engineered by evolution to outlast everything. That resilience made it worthless to industrial agriculture. A crop that plants itself cannot be sold as seed, a vegetable that grows anywhere cannot command premium prices. A green that survives without irrigation cannot justify expensive equipment. And most critically, a plant that cannot be killed without poison cannot be controlled. So they changed the story. Purslane became a weed, not food, a problem to be solved with chemistry. But here's what the herbicide labels do not tell you. Purslane contains more omega-3 fatty acids than any other leafy plant ever tested. Researchers at the University of Texas discovered this in 1986. They found 400 milligrams of alpha-linolenic acid per 100 grams of fresh leaves. Spinach contains 86 milligrams per 100 grams. Lettuce contains 26 milligrams per 100 grams. Purslane contains nearly 5 times more omega-3 fatty acids than spinach. The only land plants with higher concentrations are flax seeds and chia seeds, and those are not vegetables. You cannot eat them fresh from the ground. The omega-3 content stunned scientists because purslane is a succulent. Succulents were not supposed to contain significant fatty acids, but purslane breaks the rules. It stores omega-3 fatty acids in its cell membranes to maintain flexibility in extreme heat and cold. The same compounds that help the plant survive help human brains function. Protein. Purslane contains more protein per calorie than beef. That is not an exaggeration. 100 calories of purslane delivers more grams of complete protein than 100 calories of ground beef. It contains all 9 essential amino acids. Most plant foods lack 1 or more. Purslane lacks nothing. The nutrition profile reads like a multivitamin designed by nature. Vitamin A is 26% of daily value per cup, and vitamin C is 35%. It also supplies magnesium, potassium, calcium, iron, and manganese. Purslane contains melatonin, the sleep hormone, at levels higher than most foods ever tested. Researchers found 10 to 20 times more melatonin in purslane than in most other vegetables. It contains betalain pigments, the same antioxidants that make beets valuable, and glutathione, the master antioxidant that protects cells from oxidative damage. Studies have shown purslane extracts reduce blood sugar in diabetic rats by up to 36%. Other studies found it lowered cholesterol and triglycerides significantly within weeks. Traditional Chinese medicine has used it for over 2,000 years to treat dysentery and intestinal bleeding. Indian Ayurvedic texts prescribed it for urinary disorders. Modern research suggests those ancient applications were not superstition. Purslane contains antibacterial compounds that inhibit E. coli and Salmonella. Its mucilaginous properties soothe inflamed digestive tracts. Australian researchers discovered purslane concentrates heavy metals from contaminated soil, suggesting it may have uses in bioremediation. But in clean soil, it concentrates only nutrients, turning sunlight and minerals into medicine. This is what grows in your driveway. This is what they taught you to poison. The suppression accelerated after World War II. Chemical companies that had manufactured explosives needed peacetime markets. They pivoted to agriculture. Herbicides became the new ammunition, and weeds became the enemy. Extension services taught farmers to see any plant outside the approved monoculture as a threat. Purslane was a primary target. It invaded cornfields. It invaded soybean rows. It competed with cash crops that farmers had paid to plant. But here's what the extension bulletins never mentioned. Purslane was not stealing nutrients. Its taproots reached deeper than most crop roots, pulling minerals from subsoil that would otherwise be unavailable. Studies would later show that purslane growing among crops could actually improve soil quality. It was not competition, it was collaboration. No one made money from collaboration. Herbicide sales required enemies. Purslane was easy to demonize because it was everywhere. By the 1970s, an entire generation had grown up believing purslane was worthless, something grandparents might have eaten during the Depression, a sign of poverty, backwardness, ignorance. But the plant never stopped growing, and the knowledge never fully died. In Mexico, verdolagas remains a staple. Cooks saute it with pork and chilies. Street vendors sell it fresh in bundles. In Greece, Glystrida appears in traditional salads and stews. In Turkey, semizotu is pickled, fried, and folded into borek. Across the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, purslane never stopped being food. Only in America and parts of Western Europe did we forget. The forgetting was expensive. A 2015 study estimated Americans spend $30 billion annually on omega-3 supplements, fish oil capsules, krill oil, algae extracts. An entire industry exists to sell what grows free in every backyard. The same omega-3 fatty acids that pharmaceutical companies extract from deep-sea fish, purslane manufactures from sunlight and soil. No boats, no processing plants, no microplastic contamination, just a leaf you can pick and eat. And the irony cuts deeper. The American diet is catastrophically deficient in omega-3 fatty acids. The ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in typical Western diets exceeds 15:1. Optimal ratios are closer to 4:1. This imbalance contributes to inflammation, heart disease, and cognitive decline. We spray the solution and swallow the pills. In the last decade, purslane has begun its return. Farmers markets in California now sell it as a specialty green for prices that would have shocked the grandparents who ate it free. Michelin-starred chefs in New York and Los Angeles feature it on tasting menus. Food writers have called it the next kale, though that comparison insults a plant that fed civilizations when kale was still an obscure European cabbage. The foraging movement discovered what indigenous peoples never forgot. Books on wild edibles now list purslane on their first pages. Permaculture designers plant it deliberately as ground cover that feeds both soil and humans. Urban gardeners cultivate it in containers. Seed companies that once ignored it now sell cultivated varieties with names like Goldberg and Gruner Red. Scientists have taken notice too. Researchers are studying purslane as a climate-resilient crop for arid regions where traditional vegetables fail. Its drought tolerance, its heat resistance, its ability to thrive in poor soil make it a candidate for feeding populations as climate change disrupts conventional agriculture. The plant that industrial farming tried to eradicate may be the plant that feeds us when industrial farming collapses. But the infrastructure of suppression remains. County weed boards still list it as noxious. Lawn care companies still sell its eradication. Suburban homeowners still panic when it appears in flower beds. The propaganda runs deep. 3 generations of conditioning do not disappear overnight. The pattern is familiar now. Lamb's quarters, a green more nutritious than spinach, classified as a weed. Dandelion, a liver tonic used for centuries, poisoned on lawns. Chickweed, a vitamin C source that prevented scurvy, ripped from gardens and discarded. Wild amaranth, sacred to the Aztecs, banned by conquistadors and later condemned as pigweed. The plants that feed without cost are systematically erased. Only crops that require purchase, that demand inputs, that generate revenue, are permitted to be called food. Purslane survives because it cannot be killed. Pull it, and fragments reroot. Spray it, and seeds wait 40 years for the poison to fade. Pave over it, and it cracks through asphalt. It is a lesson written in chlorophyll, a reminder that abundance was never scarce. The Persians knew, the Greeks knew, the Romans, the Chinese, the Aztecs, Thomas Jefferson. They all knew what we pretend to have forgotten. But forgetting is a choice, and choices can be reversed. One purslane plant produces 250,000 seeds. A handful of leaves contains more omega-3 fatty acids than a fish oil capsule. A backyard patch yields salads all summer with zero inputs, zero cost, zero corporate dependence. The knowledge is not lost. It grows in sidewalk cracks, waiting to be remembered. They called it a weed because they could not sell it. They taught us to poison it because they could not patent it. They erased it from cookbooks because abundance without commerce is dangerous to those who profit from scarcity. But purslane does not need permission. It does not need marketing. It does not need anything except disturbed ground and sunlight. And disturbed ground is everywhere humans build and abandon, every city, every suburb, every farm. Purslane is there, growing in the margins, feeding anyone who remembers what it is. You have walked past it 1,000 times. You may have sprayed it, pulled it, cursed it, but it came back. It always comes back. That is the lesson, not just for the plant, but for the knowledge it carries. Some things cannot be erased. Some abundance cannot be controlled. The next time you see those small, succulent leaves with the reddish stems, the ones growing where nothing was planted, remember what they are: food, medicine, omega-3 fatty acids manufactured from sunlight, complete protein synthesized from soil, 10,000 years of human history waiting in a crack in the pavement. They told you it was worthless. Now you know they lied. If this vault opens something for you, subscribe to Traditional Harvest and hit the bell. Every like and every share preserves what they tried to erase. The next vault opens soon.